is the world. Yes, he is the world. Can you say, the Lord is King?
I remember reading something you'd written once, and it was very honouring of the day in, day out work of discipling as parents, as teachers. And I think your sentiment was along the lines of something like, look, I get up on stage, I throw rubber chooks around, I have a great time, but there are people who day in, day out just introduce people and show people Jesus every day. And they are two valid but different ways of raising people to know and love Jesus.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And,
I thought that was a very honouring way of, instead of saying everyone's got to be like me, it was really hang on.
Right, yeah, but disaster. You know what I mean? How many rubber chickens could the world take?
Very cool.
Maybe there's just, I thought like that day-to-day thing is, in thinking that those who occupy the front lines, I don't know if you put on a Colin CD and that's helpful to you.
Yeah.
CD, remember them? That's the olden days now.
Well, I'll tell you a story in a minute.
Yeah, okay. And but if I have the challenge of, and this is where I'm grateful, like being in a sort of entertainment public sort of forum. Which teachers are as well, I suppose. In their own way, they have a different. But I'm really grateful that I was taught that my gifts aren't my own, that they are given by God, and they're there to bless people, and that's a really helpful default. I mean, I was in the secular music scene before I was doing sort of my Christian music in a public sort of way. Before that, I was writing songs and in church and Sunday school and Christian schools, and that context was very much as service, and that's a really helpful thing to walk into the industry, to think, well, it works in a certain way, and I've had to sort of learn about that. I've never been comfortable sort of with self-promotion, and I think that's probably not a bad discomfort to have. It's probably disadvantaged me at times because I don't have the smarts quite like others, but and I've always felt like I'd rather the music does its own talking as well. But when it comes down to just the quiet moments and you're back at home, that's another part of discipleship that you think it's not about. I mean, it is about the show in terms of if you're putting on a show, it should be a good show, But the quiet moments are the important moments, and if people have a perception of you as a Christian family, that may be good or not, but what's important is that you listen to your children and notice things about them, and say sorry to them, and be firm and push through the discomfort of your will prevailing and theirs not, when that's hard, and read books to them and go for a walk, and do the little things that sort of get squeezed out of life. So I suppose I'm talking about two things there. There's the sort of public perception, which needs to be sort of backed up by little things, and then just the general busyness of life, just finding your way into the faithful, quiet, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and that's a very powerful witness to the world. It's a very powerful presence in the world. And the same people who talked about the deterministic, that Christian parenting is not deterministic, put in one thing, get the other thing out. They also talked about the concept of being a blessing. And I think that's a lovely, just seeking to be a blessing to one another, to others. And it's nice when you don't even realise that it's happening, but this world is going to get hungrier and hungrier for people who just know which way up is. And it's not because we're better than anyone, it's just because God's spoken and you just humbly heard that. And I went to a funeral 2 weeks ago, and a lovely, lovely man who took his own life and left a family behind. It was just, tragic. And there was a lot of resonance. I was reflecting with a Christian friend of mine about that there was a lot of resonance about the loss that we were able to share together. And I thought it was important as a Christian and just generally it is an incredible loss that happened, and a great sorrow, and to see, you know, he'd played on my records. I wouldn't call him a close friend, but you know, I could see the people he'd worked very closely with, and the relationship that he'd had with people, and so just to look at that and really ache for them, and express my, you know, even just to say you know, I can see just something of what's happening here, and it's really awful, and just sort of, but you know, there wasn't really a hope there, and it wasn't time to talk about that, but in the course of time and in the way that it's processed, you know, I pray that there might be an opportunity to express that hope, and certainly, I mean, maybe it's just something that will resonate in my own heart and life as well, and
that's good.
yeah, but that's the world that our kids are going to walk into.
Sure.
And
Be prepared for.
yeah, but not with little light things. They need to go in with big hearts. I mean, Jesus saw a woman walking out with a dead child, taking the kid out of the city gates, and it says his heart went out to her. I thought, he knew what he was about to do. He knew what he could do. He could raise that child, but his heart went out to her, and you know, he wept at the tomb of Lazarus. So
That's good. Let's get one for the blooper reel. Tell us about your kids' response to your music. Do they love it? Do they get you to sign their CDs? What do they do?
I've always been a little bit careful with my kids to, you know, to not let them, you know, for them not to feel like they're sort of in the shadow at all. And I'd be best to ask them whether I've been successful at that. We were having a good laugh the other night because we were sitting around watching one of the old videos, which we don't do. I mean, this is mid-20s. And Laura, my number 2, has always taken me to task because she's appeared in numerous videos as a man. And she always cast me as a man. And so we said, well, watch the Christmas video. She's a man. And quite a funny man walking, a shifty man. And so obviously, you know, she's been scarred by that. And no, but I remember coming home from a gig, and it was one of the kids I remember we were driving, and they're just, you know, driving along, and she said, "Oh, I'm really proud of what you do, Dad." You know, and that was, and little moments like that have been really a real blessing. And I think, yeah, just a reminder that, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter what you do. You know, you come home and your dad, and you just need to be Dad. But they're wonderfully supportive.
Right.
Yeah, they're real champions, and my wife too, Robin. She always worries, you know, that a beach ball's going to knock down a hall, or, you know. I did do a gig in Dubai, and we're throwing the beach balls out, and it was in a 5-star hotel because the church, there's no churches there, and but it was for a church, and there's chandeliers, and the beach ball, and both my daughter and my wife had to leave the room. I couldn't look. It did knock a little bit of chandelier down, but I think you can get deported or worse for chandelier injuries in Dubai. Yeah. But anyway,
Colin, it's been a joy. Thanks for giving of yourself so freely. We appreciate it, and it's just been a great blessing. Can I pray with you?
Yeah.
That'd be great.